Hello and welcome to another video from Midas Touch Toys, Games, Collectibles. And today, well, we're looking at something that's now quite old. Obviously, as annuals are very collectible and becoming increasingly more difficult to find, especially in this mint condition. We are looking at the 1982 release by World Distributors for the upcoming 1983 year of their BBC TV Doctor Who annuals. And this is the first full annual to solely feature the Fifth Doctor, which was Peter Davison. Now, he had appeared at the end of the previous year's annual, which was the 1982 annual, which was mainly Tom Baker, but as Tom Baker regenerated into Peter Davison, at the end of that season, they then added a couple of stories at the end of the annual which featured Peter Davison as a Doctor. But this 1983 one, this was the first one to solely feature the Fifth Doctor. Now, as you know, Doctor Who, classic Doctor Who, these annuals are all based on, which ran from 1963 to 1989. There were 7 Doctors, or 7 actors who played the part of the Doctor. It started with William Hartnell, then Patrick Troughton, Jon Pertwee, Tom Baker, Peter Davison, Colin Baker and Sylvester McCoy, before the movie, the 1996 Doctor Who television movie, which starred Paul McGann. And then, of course, in 2005, the revise of Doctor Who, which opened with Christopher Eccleston as the Doctor. Now, the annuals were produced from 1966 onwards. There was 2 of the William Hartnell era, which was 66 and 67. There was 3 Patrick Troughton ones, which was 68, 69 and 70. There was 4 Jon Pertwee annuals, which was 1971. There wasn't one in 72. We had 73, 74 and 75. And then Tom Baker, we had one for every year. So we had 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81 and 82, which is when he left the show. And then Peter Davison, we had 83 and 84, and Colin Baker, we had 85 and 86, and that brought the classic annuals to an end. Marvel did release a series of yearbooks when they were producers or publishers of the Doctor Who magazine, and they ran from 92, 93, 94, 95 and 96 until they parted company with the Doctor Who magazine. And since then there have been some fan-produced annuals which have been added into the missing annuals, if you like. So there was a 1965 William Hartnell one, there was a 1972 Jon Pertwee one, there was a 1987 Colin Baker one, a 1988 Colin Baker one, and introducing Sylvester McCoy, and a 1989 Sylvester McCoy one. And there was also an omnibus edition, and there was also one of the Master. But this particular one, say we're looking at today, is the 1983 annual, which starred Peter Davison as the Doctor, together with Janet Fielding as Tegan Javanka and Sarah Sutton as Nyssa. I think it also featured Matthew Woodhouse as Adric. Anyway, this is the annual. This is BBC TV Doctor Who annual, and there is an image of Peter Davison as the Fifth Doctor, and he's standing halfway in the TARDIS doors there, as well as standing in front of the TARDIS doors. And there he is in black and white images, dressed in his cricket motif. And there you've got images of Tegan and Nyssa. Okay, that's the front of the box. Oh, you've also got the World Distributors logo at the very bottom right-hand corner. That's the front of the book. Let's turn it over to the back. What have we got on the back? Again, it says Doctor Who Annual, and there's another image of Peter Davison. And you've got the SBN number, which is 7235 66534. Just a very quick look at the spline. It says BBC TV Doctor Who Annual, and you've got the World Distributors logo at the bottom there, if you can just see that. Okay, that is the covers. Let's now open the book up and let's have a look at the contents. Okay, so I've opened the book up and I've had a little bit of extra light because it was a little bit, come over a little bit dark here, and I don't think the light was sufficient, so I've had a little bit of light. So I've opened the book up and this is the first pages. Now you have to bear with me on this because this was a shop find book and it's never been sold or read before, so it's only been opened to a few pages to be photographed, but otherwise it's never been opened. So let's go through this. I may have to hold the pages to stop them from closing on us, but let's see how we get on. Okay, so this is the first page. You can see an image of the TARDIS there with Tegan, Nyssa as half of Adric in the corner there, and the Fifth Doctor. And I think that is from one of the episodes. Can't remember the name of the episode, but yeah, okay, it's from an episode. And it says contents: danger, danger down below, the God Machine, the Armageddon crystals on the planet Isopolaris, the Haven, the penalty, night flight to nowhere. Now it features, it says, our neighbours in space, behind the scenes of Doctor Who visual effects, enter Peter Davison as Doctor Who, coming into land, what is a light year, behind the scenes of Doctor Who, the producer, and a problem for you, behind the scenes of Doctor Who, the set designer, and Thor for 25,000 years, will our sun always shine, to the far planets and black holes. And you've got the World Distributors logo there and all the copyright and licensing information at the bottom. BBC TV, Doctor Who Annual. A little bit difficult to read that because it's black on dark purple, but there we are. And of course, bottom right hand corner, you've got the cover price of £2.50, which was very cheap back then. Well, I say cheap back then, it wasn't cheap back then, but it was the price of the annuals back then. I suppose into comparison now, you're looking at probably £6 or £7 or £8 per in today's currency. Okay, so the very first story is called Danger Down Below, and it is a story with colour illustrations. It's featuring the Fifth Doctor there and Tegan. I don't know if any of the others yet are in there, but that runs for 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pages, 9 pages to complete that story. Then it's got our neighbours in space. So when you look up into the sky on a starry night, it might seem as though we have thousands of neighbours in space, and of course we do, but the immense distances of those stars from us make them not quite the kind of neighbours to whom you'll pop round for a cup of tea. So that tells you all about neighbouring planets. Behind the scenes of Doctor Who, and this is the visual effects department. And there you can see you've got an image of the Master's TARDIS as it appeared in Logopolis, and also I think in Castrovalva. The Master's remote control device is there, and Peter Davison's a Doctor and his costume. And then we're on to the next story, which is called The God Machine. And again, this is a full story with monocolour illustrations, and that runs for 2, 4, 6, and there's Nyssa and Tegan. 6 pages that ran for. Then we've got Coming Into Land. It says the TARDIS doesn't need help to land precisely wherever and whenever it wants, but have you wondered what goes on inside the air traffic control tower when an aeroplane comes into land at a busy airport? Interesting. What is a light year? Well, a light year, 186,000 miles per second times 60, 11,160,000 miles per minute times 60, 669,600,000 miles per hour times 24, 16,070,400,000 miles per day times 365, 5,865 million, or billion, 696 million miles per year. Bloody hell. A lot of distance. Behind the scenes at the Doctor Who, and that's the producer. And the producer at the time was John Nathan Turner. And that's all about the production and how he creates the television series. The Armageddon Crystals. Again, that's another story featuring the Fifth Doctor, Nyssa and Tegan. And it's with full story with monocolour illustrations. And that runs for 6-7 pages. And now we're on the planet Isopaturus, and that's Fifth Doctor, Adric, Tegan and Nyssa, and that's a comic strip story, kind of a comic strip story, and it's in full colour, and that runs to 3, 4, 5, 6 pages. And then we come to the next story, which is The Haven. Again, the Doctors, Nyssa and Tegan, and that's 3, 4, 5, full story with colour illustrations again, and it runs for 6 pages. A Problem for You to Solve, and that's imagine you're a member of a space crew scheduled to rendezvous with the mothership on the lighted surface of the moon. Due to mechanical difficulties, your ship is forced to land some 200 miles from the rendezvous point. Much of your equipment is damaged on landing, and since survival means reaching the mothership, you must choose the most critical items to take with you. And that is pick your critical items to carry with you. Behind the scenes of Doctor Who, set designs and costumes. And I think that's all for Castrovalva. Thor for 25,000 years. And then we've got Will Our Sun Always Shine? And then we're on to the next story, which is The Penalty, which is a full story with monocolour illustrations, and that runs for 5 pages before we come to The Far Planets. And that's all about planets that we can't reach, such as Jupiter and Saturn. And then the next story is Night Flight to Nowhere. Again, it's another story featuring the TARDIS crew in a full story in monocolour illustrations. And that runs for 5, 6, 7 pages, I believe. And then the final part of the book is all about the black holes. What do we know about them? And that brings us to the end of the annual. Okay. I know I'm getting a lot of glare on the cover. I'm just going to dim the lights a little bit again because I'm getting too much glare on the cover and you can't see it properly. Okay, so how well did this book do back in 1982 on its release? Well, yep, back in 1982, annuals were still incredibly popular. The video age had just begun, I believe. So I think in 1982, videos were just becoming household gadgets. They were still very expensive at the time, but they were becoming regular household players that appeared in most houses, and they were the VHS video recorders. I think at one point there were some Sony ones as well, which they called Betamax, and I think there was a Philips 2000 version as well. But eventually they all went over to the VHS one, which was obviously far more popular than the rest of them. So that's what they ended up all becoming. And VHS obviously stayed on until DVDs came out. But anyway, so that was in the future, or just beginning to happen. Annuals were still very popular, especially at Christmas time. Annuals were usually released October, November, December time to tie in, or September, October, November time to tie in for Christmas, the upcoming Christmas year. And obviously this one was no exception, released in late 82 for the 83 year. Yeah, again, mass produced, done very well, sold many copies, and most Doctor Who fans would have woke up on Christmas morning with the 1983 annual in their Christmas stocking or the Christmas sack. Very, very popular, and yes, sold many, many, many copies. Okay, let's move forward to 2025. So we're going forward 43 years to when this annual was released. Do these annuals come up for sale very often on the platforms? Yes, they still come up on the platforms from time to time. Not as often as they used to, I hasten to add. Not so long ago, but perhaps 10 years ago, there was loads and loads and loads of classic Doctor Who annuals appearing. Nowadays, not so many. They still appear, don't get me wrong, they still appear on the platforms, but nowhere near in the volumes that they were appearing about 10 years ago. That's more than likely because people that have bought them don't want to part with them. They're in their own collections and they are for them. Occasionally they still come up on the platform. This particular one does still pop up from time to time on the platforms. Various different states of condition, of course. And if you are intending to buy one on the platform, do be careful, because some people's idea of very good condition could be somebody else's idea of acceptable condition. There's a big scope of differences there between people's opinions, so do be careful. And don't forget, some of the platforms use stock images and stock descriptions, so you could be looking at an item like this and reading the description of this one, but there's no new available, so it goes to the cheapest used item, and that may not be anything like what you think you're going to get. So if it doesn't say new on the page and it says used, click that link and read what you're about to order. Otherwise you will be disappointed when it arrives. I don't understand why some of the platforms work that way, but they do. And it is very misleading for people that want to buy new, and when they click buy it now, they think that's what they're buying. However, if it doesn't say new on the page, that's not what you're going to get. So do be careful. Now, this particular annual we're looking at today, it was a shop find. It was part of a whole load of annuals that we managed to buy from a shop that had closed down. A couple have been in business since the 1960s, and over the years, one of the owners was quite partial to sci-fi, and every time they had a delivery of annuals come in, if it was one that he liked, he would take one out and put it into a box in the back for himself. And there was quite a collection of those annuals in that box. He never did anything with them, just took them out and kept them for himself inside that box, but never done anything other than leave them in the box. So when we went in just after COVID and bought out all the stock, there was a big box of annuals, not just Doctor Who, but there was Space 1999, UFO, Blake 7, loads and loads of different annuals of the time, and they were untouched, never been on the shelf, never been sold, never even been opened. And this particular annual was one of those. And as of today, this annual is available to purchase on the MyStouch website, which you can get to very simply by clicking the link below. It will take you straight to the website, or you'll be able to find this and many other vintage Doctor Who items and many other vintage toys, games and collectibles. Come to that, there's over 10,000 products currently available on the website for you to view and purchase at your leisure. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button, because we're uploading videos for every new item that goes into the website, and there will be something for everybody. And I'm absolutely positive this is something that you're not going to want to miss, because we literally have thousands and thousands of new items which we're shooting videos for and uploading on a daily basis. So if there is something in particular you're looking for, something old you've never been able to find, something quirky you might want to buy for a friend, or perhaps just something from your childhood that you'd like to own again to help you recuperate those long lost childhood memories. Well, stay tuned, keep watching, because you never know, the next item we upload could be that item you've been looking for. Okay, that is it for me on this particular item. I do hope you've enjoyed reviewing this wonderful, wonderful vintage Doctor Who annual from 1983 with me. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next video. So bye for now.